My dear friends, this week we'll be commemorating the Shloshim, 30 days since the passing, the brutal murder of Dafna Meir, a Jewish mother in Israel, who was brutally murdered at the doorstep of her own home. When someone tried to come in and he stabbed her, and in just being a hero in her last moments, she struggled with him until eventually he had to run away, saving her children and everyone else in the house. This is a remarkable person. Torah tells us, "V'hachayit in aliboy," the living must take to heart, to be inspired, to think about the life's message of those who passed, and to be inspired and to take some message for ourselves. And this remarkable person, Dafna Meir, there's so much to learn from her life story. And I'd like to share two ideas which are very relevant, something relevant particularly to our time now, the month of Adar, which we are entering, the month of joy. There are two things which I read which I thought were really powerful. Dafna Meir was a remarkable person in many ways, and she wore many hats. One of the things she did was she was a nurse, and took care of people, took care of those who weren't well. She also wrote a blog, and someone translated, her blog was written in Hebrew, and someone translated one of her blog posts, and that post was a prayer to God, asking God to grant her and everyone else at the hospital the success, the wisdom to understand how to properly use the medication, to recognize when the medication isn't given correctly, the wisdom to treat those properly. And she uses the terminology, to use the wisdom, to have the wisdom to use your methods, God's gifts, the medicine which God gave us, the tools which God gave us, with which to heal others. We should have the wisdom to use it properly and correctly. Judaism, fundamental aspect of Judaism is recognizing that everything is a gift from God. Even things which seem natural, seem like they're just part of the world we live in. Everything was created by God, which includes medical remedies and the wonders of modern medicine. God is giving us the energy and the wisdom to understand it and to connect to it, and gives these particular things the power to heal. And here's a woman who truly lived it, truly experienced it, truly felt it, and recognized that everything is a gift from God. Obviously, we're challenged to do our part, but we always have to recognize we're living in a godly world. And perhaps it was that perspective which allowed her to have the second idea, which I'd like to share. This tremendous optimism, or tremendous drive, which carried her through life. She had a very difficult life. So much so that at age, I think it was about 13 years old, she was taken in by a foster family. She didn't have an easy life. And then, instead of being angry, instead of letting it out, which would be a very understandable reaction, instead of living a very insular life, just trying to be secure on her own, which would be remarkable in its own right, they spoke at a funeral, and it was told that when she met her husband, her soon-to-be husband, they met in the army, and her one condition she made was that when they marry, and God willing have children of their own, there will also include bringing foster children, which they did. They had 3 of their own children and brought in 2 children who had their own challenges. And they helped those children and dealt with those children with tremendous love and devotion. Here was somebody who repaid a world which was so cruel to her with love and affection. And she helped people in so many ways. Just, search her on Google and read about her. Someone who was there to help others. She had an anonymous blog, apparently. People could ask questions, medical questions in terms of Jewish law. She helped young brides when it came to Jewish law and preparing for the wedding. Just a person who had so much optimism and a love for life. Yet she dealt with so much adversity, things which is hard for us to really connect to and relate to. How difficult her childhood must have been. Yet she had just tremendous power, unbelievable drive, and love for life, which allowed her to repay the ugliness with beauty. Tremendous, giving tremendous gifts to our world. And there's so much to learn from that. And I believe the way she had that optimism and that drive was because she had the first idea, that the belief, the recognition that everything is from God. Every experience, even those which we don't like. And we pray to God to make things good. But when we do experience something negative, we recognize it was given to us for a reason. We try to find perhaps the meaning, or at least recognize that it will be okay. God is with us. He hasn't forgotten about me, about each individual, and everything that we experience and every occurrence in our life has purpose. And we have to try to, sometimes we've got to ride the waves and find the meaning and connect to it. Because we're challenged as Jews in Judaism to not only live life, a productive life, but to do it with joy. And the way we get there is recognizing that every aspect of life has meaning in our personal lives as well. And especially now when we come into the month of Adar, the Talmud tells us, Mishenichnas Adar Marbim Basimcha, when the month of Adar comes, the month of Purim, we're obligated to actually increase in joy. And in joy, obviously, there's the outward expressions of joy, but joy is also the idea of just being content and being happy with where we are and who we are. And a big part of that is the recognition and the belief that we live in God's world and everything has a reason. And obviously we're challenged to do the best we can in life, and we always do that. 6 days a week we work. But we also have the recognition that we can only do so much. The rest is left in God's hands, and we're okay. You're in the right place. Things will be good. God is with us. And it's not a crutch. Because with that belief, we still have to work hard. But it's the recognition and the comfort knowing that we live in a world of purpose and our life has a meaning. And we have to, go with that and recognize sometimes, God willing, God will help us. We'll actually experience it and understand what it's about. We always have to have that knowledge that there is meaning. There is meaning to the madness. God willing, it shouldn't be meaning to madness. It should be meaning to the beauty of life. And may the memory and beautiful life and legacy and lessons from this remarkable woman serve as an inspiration in our lives. May she look down and have tremendous nachas from all the Jewish people who take a shining example from this person to live life knowing that we live in a meaningful world and our lives have meaning, and live life with joy. When we deal with those challenges, recognize it's going to be okay. Shabbat Shalom.